Welcome back to the Boyz and Ball Podcast. If you like the pod, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's go. All right. A little bit of college basketball action.
Hell yeah.
We had some big upsets. The SEC Big 12 Challenge hit, and we had some big upsets here. A couple of the top teams in each conference lost. Alabama got 30-balled by Oklahoma. What happened in that game?
And the point guard for Oklahoma, he's a beast. Grant Sherfield, he's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, but how does a team that's, barely 500, 30 ball Alabama, that was the consensus top, second best team in the country at that point?
I mean, sometimes it's just college basketball. Any team on any given night, especially in these power conferences, and especially a team from the Big 12, I think Big 12 is the best conference in basketball. But when you got just teams in general in the Big 12, they can beat anybody. And like a team like Alabama is led by a bunch of young guys, Brandon Miller, freshman. Oklahoma's got seniors and grad transfer, stuff like that. So they just have the experience. I mean, obviously nobody probably expected them to win, but that stuff can happen.
So it looks like also it's like a super rough shooting night for Alabama. They shot, 38% from the field and 27 from behind the arc. So, it's tough to stay in any game when you come out, shooting like that.
I don't think the 27%. Oh, sorry, Bruce. Go ahead.
So how did they look during on the rebound battle?
Well, it was even across the rebounds. It's about 35 to 36 Oklahoma, and most of Oklahoma's boards came being defensive boards. And,
now here's the big difference. It's not the 27% from the 3-point line, because you see teams win games all the time with shooting 27%.
Without
the big stat is on the other side. Oklahoma shot 69% from the 3-point line.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Well, another thing to think about is also from shooting from the line. Bama shot 62%. Like, that's a lot of free points that you just, that they just left out there that they didn't take.
Yeah.
You're getting a free shot, you need to hit it. I get, Ivan's a great, free throw shooter, but when you get to the line, you need to make your shots.
I mean, you especially expect your guards to make their free throws.
Absolutely.
Sometimes with your big men, they're not great free throw shooters, but it was Alabama's guards that missed a lot of those free throws. So, I mean, Alabama obviously had an off game, but you would expect, the number 2 team in the country, they were 18-2 going into that game. They, obviously dropped that game, dropped to 18-3, but they were playing an Oklahoma team that at the time was 10-9.
Yeah.
So this is a team that was not playing well, and you go into their place and you get, almost 30-balled. That's where I think Alabama might be a little bit fraudulent.
Possibly, yeah. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah. It just depends with Alabama. Like, in the tournament, you got a player like Brandon Miller in the tournament. Let's see what he does, because that type of basketball will be more competitive. In certain situations, it can be more ISO ball, or like you need somebody that can kind of take you over the edge. And I mean, he's looking like a lottery pick. So,
and I mean, and
they could make a run.
Him and as their best player in that game, he went 4 for 14 from the field, only had 11 points, and in a game like that where you're playing against another, like, Oklahoma's always good at basketball. They always have a solid squad, and you're going to need a star to show up if you're going to, upset a solid team at home, and their stars did not show up.
Yeah.
All right. The other game I want to talk about in that Big 12 SEC matchup, Mississippi State got the dub, took down Kansas State. And for me, that was a bigger moment there, because this was a Mississippi State team that was, flirting around 500, and Kansas State had to go into their place, and they came out with that overtime win. Or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Kansas State. That's wrong. It was TCU. misspoke there. But this is a TCU team that's, has some good wins. They're, at this point now they're 16-5. So, I mean, that's a tough loss. I mean, it was at home for Mississippi
You
State.
said Mississippi State beat TCU.
Beat TCU, yes.
Yeah. Was that? I think that was the game. That was not their last game, but the game before. I think that was when Mike Miles, I think that's his name, their point guard for TCU, he got hurt during that game.
Okay.
I think that's why they lost. I mean, because he's one of the better players in the Big 12, better guards.
He did only play 4 minutes in that game.
Yeah, I think he got hurt because he's their best player.
But I think the biggest performance there was he got 27 points from Toulouse Smith out of Mississippi State.
Oh, he's a really good player, like 6'11", 6'10", forward. He's definitely an NBA he's a
6'11", 245.
Yeah, he's a good prospect. I think he's a senior now, or junior. So
yeah, that game was big to me because I mean, Mississippi State was that team that they went on a big losing streak there, but this was a team that has some talent on it. Is not a team that's at 500 and you look at that team and you go, oh, they should be 500. This is a team that, I mean, they ripped off 5 straight losses there, but it was, close loss to Georgia, close loss to Auburn, 11-point loss to Tennessee, 2-point loss to Florida, 3-point loss to Bama.
They started out the season undefeated for a while.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't really play anybody there. I mean, you could say Marquette, but I mean, that was really it.
Marquette's a good team.
Marquette's usually pretty solid.
But I think that's a win that gets them back on track. They've gotten through, they had all those losses in the tough part of their schedule, 2 losses there to Tennessee, 2 losses to Alabama. So they're obviously not as good as those teams, but this is still a team that can make the tournament and, maybe have an upset.
I could see it. We'll see at the end.
I mean, was there any big games for you guys last week that really spoke to you?
Well, I know it's not last week, but by the time you guys see it, that will it'll be in the past. Was and we talked about this earlier when we were waiting for such a podcast, but Tennessee lost to Florida today, and a pretty big statement win for Florida. I just thought that was important. I mean, I know you guys didn't really watch it. I was watching the end of the game, and I heard the announcer talk about how this is a big push for Florida to propel themselves for the tournament. Good win for them to get maybe a little bit higher seeding and not be as far down. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on Florida knocking off the number 2 team in Tennessee.
No, yeah, I mean, Florida's a scrappy bunch. I think they have a really good squad down there, especially Kyle Lofton, Castleton, like how we were talking about. Yeah. These are, I mean, like SEC, Big 12, these big conferences, they go super deep with all these teams. So a team like Florida can beat Tennessee, just like how we were talking about Oklahoma beating, who was it?
Oklahoma beat Bama, yeah.
Bama, yeah. Like that stuff can just happen. So
yeah. To me too, Tennessee is not the number 2 team in the country. I think this is a really good Tennessee squad. The last couple of years they've been pretty good, but I feel like this team is ranked number 2 right now because of the situation and some losses ahead of them by teams that I would say are honestly better. I think Alabama's better than Tennessee.
But they cost a hot loss to Oklahoma just recently.
Right, which will drop them. So I think they're more up there based on situation right now than by actual skill. I still think they're a top 10 team in the country right now, but I don't think they're number 2. And like Andrew said, Florida is a tough squad. They got some good players over there, and they're going to give you trouble. They're not having a great year this year, but it's a team that can upset you. Just like off the stream, Dan, me and you were talking about Creighton, and Creighton upset Xavier a couple days ago. Creighton's just one of those teams. It doesn't matter how good some of their players are, or if they're having a down year. That is a team that is going to get some upsets every year. They're going to take a few teams down.
I like Creighton this year a lot. Watch for them in the tournament.
All right.
Yeah. Let's jump into the big college basketball segment. Andrew, what do you have to say about your mid-major picks last week?
Okay. So last week we talked about 4 teams: Florida Atlantic, New Mexico, Akron, and UMass Lowell. Got Florida Atlantic. They only have 1 loss in the season. They beat Middle Tennessee State, and then they beat Western Kentucky. And I don't know, just the way, like I talked about how Florida Atlantic, how I talked about last week, just plays like team basketball. I feel like everybody just scores on their team. Like if you look at the box score, like everybody gets some type of buckets, whether it's 2, 4, but it's like their whole team scores. And there's not like one guy that drops, 40 or 30 a bunch. Like maybe sometimes this guy's in the 20s or, high teens, but they like really just distribute the ball around. And I don't know. It's an impressive team. I think they're like 19 in the country now too.
Yeah, they're climbing up.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of like a little sneaky team to watch, just as down the road for the tournament.
Yeah, I think the UAB game tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday, so the UAB game, here coming up on Thursday, I think is going to be a big game for them. We've talked about UAB a little bit. That's a good squad who dropped a couple games as of late, but they can really play for a conference championship.
For sure, I think so. The second team was New Mexico.
And how did their 3 games go, or 2 games?
Well, shit, I know we're recording, but that's the part where I have the stuff I sent to you.
Okay. We got you. We'll pull it up. Mr. Google, Dan, who is our local Google expert.
Yeah.
And we have it up here. So did they had they played Boise State at the time of the last week's recording? Do you remember?
I don't.
You don't remember?
Okay. They played Boise State on Friday.
Okay, so it was
they would have already played, yeah.
Okay, so they got a 2-point win against Boise State, and then they lost to Nevada at Nevada, and then they got a win against Air Force. I believe that was today.
Yeah. Here, wait.
No, that was before the weekend.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was on Friday.
Here, I can just pull up these things.
Oh, it was January 27th. Oh, they haven't played a game since January 27th.
Yeah, they played. It's been a while since they played a game.
That's crazy. All right, well, your team, they got a couple dubs.
He's looking up stats.
Get back here.
Yeah.
Where do you think you're going?
Yeah. Is it on there now?
You can't just be leaving like that.
Is it on?
Yeah, you're back. Your camera's back. We can see you.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up where I can see it just so I can talk better.
You're not allowed.
Oh, fuck. This thing sucks.
Yep.
So in New Mexico's win against Air Force, Jamal Mashburn did have a really good game. Went for 24 on 8 for 17 from the field, so pretty solid. And then they got 19 points out of Jalen House.
Nice. Sounds like a solid performance.
But
you talking about their game against Air Force?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, against Air Force, Air Force is a scrappy little bunch. Like, that's actually a team, whenever you see them like +8, +10, something like that, you kind of want to take it because Air Force plays some teams close this year. They have some shooters, and I don't know, those type of teams, just like from the academies, when they have a good squad, like they just play hard till the end. So, that was a good win for New Mexico at home. Jamal Mashburn Jr., he's a good player. Obviously, he's not like his dad. He's more of a he's 6'2" point guard, but he's a pretty good player. One of the better guards in the country.
Okay, so we see out of your picks, the first loss during this time, they did drop to Nevada at Nevada. Now, Nevada's a good squad.
Yes,
that's no pushover. It's a tough team.
Yes,
Nevada's 17-6 now. 3rd place in the Mountain West, and
the
Mountain West is looking pretty good.
State last night too.
Yeah. Told Dan to make that pick as well. Doesn't want to listen to me.
No, yeah, they're pretty solid, Nevada.
But yeah, what's team number 3? What was team number 3 you talked about?
Oh yeah, team number 3, Akron.
Yes.
I like them, man. They're so fun to watch. They got their center Enrique Freeman averages like 15 and 10, 6'7", just super long arms, crafty down low. Like it's just and then Xavier Castaneda, 6'1" point guard. I mean, what did he score the last 2 games? Google Dan.
Which garden? Enrique?
Akron.
He had 32 against Buffalo.
Yeah.
32, and then he had
Was it 31 or something?
16 against the Bobcats, and then against Miami of Ohio, he had 32. Yeah, so a couple high scoring games.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's just a really good guard. So I think their coach John Gross is probably going to take them back to the tournament this year out of the MAC. I could see them making a run. So
Now their next game, they're home against Kent State.
Yep.
Do they drop that game or do they continue the win streak? They're on a 7-game win streak.
I think they make the upset. I think Kent State will be favored by like 8 points, probably in that area or more.
Okay.
Because I think it's at Kent State, but I think Akron either at least they cover the spread. I think they're going to cover the spread, but for sure, upset alert.
Okay.
All right.
They're playing.
All right.
Everybody's playing well. That starting 5 they have is they've been around together for that's the same group from last year. They just had a couple guys leave, so I mean, and those guys played UCLA really tough.
That's your upset alert.
Yep.
So I was going to watch the Friday game. And now the last team, we know this team.
Oh gosh.
UMass Lowell.
Oh gosh.
Andrew.
Well,
this one was bad. This one was not good.
They lost 2 of their games.
They did lose 2 of their games. And, they finally bounced back tonight and got the win. But, I mean, you were doing hot. One team went 2-1. The other teams won all their games. This team, it took them till the following week to get a win.
Oh man, it was tough. Especially to a team like New Hampshire, who was 10-10 at the time, and then you got it was Maine. Maine
Who's 9-13 on the season now.
Yeah, so Maine has just been the worst. Probably, I mean, they're worse than UConn. Like UConn in terms of just like sports, like for football is terrible for UConn. Like Maine is like the UConn of basketball. And the fact that they lost to them just kind of scared me a little bit. But against New Hampshire, all their guys were playing well. It's at New Hampshire.
New Hampshire is now ranked ahead of UMass Lowell
in the American East.
In the American East.
But once they get to that conference tournament, they'll figure that out. UMass Lowell is a lot better than everybody in that conference.
All right. Well,
don't doubt me.
Dan, I want to jump to you and Bruce. Do you boys have a sleeper team? Andrew's been making his picks. Do you guys have one team you really like right now? Doesn't have to be a mid-major. I know Andrew is the mid-major demon. Do you have one team that you really like right now?
Bruce, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I kind of like Syracuse, I guess.
Hey!
Okay.
Let's go.
Now, why do you like Syracuse?
No, it's like I've watched Syracuse basketball in the past, and whenever I watched it in the past, it wasn't really that great for me. But like I don't know, there's just something different about this group of guys that they got this year. It feels like I don't really know what to say. It's I don't know, they're just moving the ball so good. They're playing solid defense. They're making good basketball decisions. Like,
okay. All right, so we got Syracuse. Dan, what's your pick? You look like you're Googling real hard right now. Caught you off guard. Blindsided you. What's your pick?
Okay. I'm another ranked. I know it's not like one of Andrew's wild mid majors, but my team's actually Providence. I really like I've watched some of their games, because one guy I follow, for on TikTok, he goes to Providence, and he's always hyping up his school, but I like the way they played. Recently they did catch a loss to Xavier, but they've been kind of holding on to that Big East for a while. Up there, but it's them and Marquette and Xavier have been kind of flip flopping back and forth for the number one. But I think going into the tourney, they're gonna make a little push. I don't know how deep they're gonna go, but I think they'll probably make it out of the first round if they make it into the tourney.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my little sleeper.
I like that pick. I like Providence, and obviously I love the Syracuse pick.
JT, what's your pick? You put us on blast. What's your pick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Flip the script. What's your pick, JT? As his computer dies.
This where you insert belligerent Ohio State comment.
Bruce, can you give us an interim Ohio State comment since JT does not know?
This is some absolute fucking bullshit. This is some absolute bullshit
in the nation.
No, this is some fucking dog shit. I will not take this slander. My pick is Nevada. That is my squad. I really like that team this year.
Oh yeah.
All right. But we're not gonna edit this around to make it look like I didn't have an answer. I had an answer. Dan DDoSed me. I will not take this slander.
So you got Nevada. Why do you got Nevada? What's going on?
I like that squad. They always have a really
Steve
good defense.
Alford.
Yeah, they play
That's your coach.
they play an aggressive defense, which I really do like. They normally recruit a lot of like really long players, but that's a team that you really just don't want to play them.
Yeah.
I like Nevada. You got Keenan Blackshear Jr. He's solid. He's a good defender. Swiss Army knife.
They've dropped
player.
a couple games, but that's a team that's playing really well. Did I cut out again?
Bad. And Andrew picked it up for you.
Fuck.
You dropped the bag, and Andrew said, "Don't worry, boss. I got you." Pick that shit right
Damn,
back
where
up.
did I cut out? Where did I cut out? I had a whole speech.
At the beginning. At the beginning.
At the beginning. Oh my God. Well, all I was talking about is they got a tough conference. New Mexico.
And he died.
He died again. What a fucking clown.
Well,
that's bad.
JT's pick is Nevada.
I know Nevada. I know Nevada. So
I'm gonna beat women.
Is the former UCLA coach Steve Alford? When UCLA was actually pretty good. When we were probably in high school, 2015. I can't really remember the dates. But no, they have a solid squad, and they just beat San Diego State last night. So
yeah.
I'm gonna walk into Spectrum headquarters. I'm gonna 3-piece the receptionist.
Oh, are you?
Whoever it is, getting 3-piece just for my internet crashes. Someone's got to go down. Someone's got to pay for this. Jesus. I'm out here spilling my soul about Nevada, and I'm just cutting out, looking like I'm just nowhere to be found.
Don't worry, JT. We'll make sure everyone knows that you don't really love Nevada.
Listen, all I'm saying is you can ask Dan. He's going to disprove it because it's Edit Dan out here. He likes to edit to make himself look the best. But I told Dan, take the upset yesterday. Nevada gets the dub. And what did Dan do? Nothing. Didn't believe me. Nevada. Oh, I'm throwing my take out there again. Look, my sleeper team is Nevada.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah. My sleeper team is Nevada.
Nevada.
Right? Yeah. They play good defense. They play athletic defense. They got a lot of longer, bigger guys on that team. They're always really solid. And the thing I like about them this year is they're playing in a really tough conference. You got New Mexico, Utah State, San Diego State, Boise State are all playing really well in that conference. And they're third place in that conference, 17-6 on the year. And I think this is a team to watch out for in the tournament.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. Well, now JT's had a spiel. We're going to go to everyone's favorite part of the segment, Andrew's mid-majors. What do you got for us?
By the mid-major demon. Come on, get the title right.
Why does it have to be a demon? I don't want to be a demon.
You're a demon. You're too good.
I don't like it.
Except when you're picking UMass Law, and then you're trash.
I want to change it to something else.
Maybe next time. All right. Maybe you'll get the Bailey treatment. I'll change the name of your segment every week. We'll see.
Yeah. So just this week, I got 4 other teams that I kind of like watching. And what I was going to say about these 4 teams and kind of what I'm going to try to do each segment is these are teams that I like to bet on. These are teams that that are up and coming and will probably that I like to win their conference or they're going to battle in their conference. This is just kind of just teams that I like. But especially like if you want to take the spread on these games or whatever, like definitely look into that too. But my first team is Marshall. They got their best player is Tavion Kinsey. He's probably a projected second round pick at this point. Averages 21, 5, and 5. He's kind of like a combo guard, but also can probably play the 3. He's taller, about 6'5", 6'6". But they're just a tough team. They're 18-5 in CUS or 18-5. They're in the CUSA.
Sunbelt.
I probably see them winning their conference tournament, making it into the NCAA tournament later on. He's just a really tough player. He can drop 30 if they need him to.
Yeah, I mean, I expect them to win and they are in the Sunbelt.
They're in the Sun Belt? Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
but I do expect them to win the Sun Belt. I don't think Louisiana or Southern Miss are better teams, so I expect Marshall to win that conference.
No, I do too. And their next 2 games tomorrow actually, and then the 4th, February 4th, they got App State tomorrow. That's at App State, and then they play at Louisiana. So they'll have to play Louisiana. Louisiana's tough. They have a former 5-star recruit on their team, Louisiana, Jordan Brown. He's a 5-star recruit that originally went to Arizona, and I think he transferred to Nevada. He transferred to your spot, JT, Nevada, and then now he's at Louisiana. So he's been in college for a little while.
Okay, so you think they get both those wins, and then game number 3. I mean, they're on a road trip here, so they did just blow out Georgia State in their last game, but their next 4 games are on the road, and that's App State, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, and Georgia State.
Yeah,
I think this is the time to show, hey, this is our conference. We're a team out to watch out for. If they go 4-0 on the road next 4 games, and that's within basically a week time frame, a little bit longer, I think 9 days. But within 9 days, they play 4 road games. So if they go 4-0 there, this is a Marshall team that's hot. They're on the run. Watch out.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Tavion Kinsey, man, he's a really good player. I definitely think he'll have a shot in the league. Really good player.
Okay. Team number 2.
Youngstown State, the Penguins. They're
Absolutely.
17-6. Okay. A lot of players on their team. I want to say like most of their starting lineup averages double digits, and they like to rebound. They're like a big rebounding team. Their coach preaches rebounding. I think they're in the Horizon League. I would say I don't know anybody else in the Horizon League that's better than them. I don't know a lot of the teams.
You could say maybe Milwaukee, but
yeah, they would be a really tough out in their conference tournament.
yeah,
But in terms of just moving forward, they got Wright State and Northern Kentucky next, and those are probably 2 teams that are comparable to them to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then like that 3rd game is Purdue Fort Wayne, and that's a team they've had a couple upsets.
Yeah.
In the past couple of years, so I mean that's always a team to, at least as the last couple of years, a team to watch out for. I think all those upsets have come at home too, so that is a game that Youngstown State has to go play at Purdue Fort Wayne.
That'd be a tough game.
But Bruce, I want to ask you a question. Do you know
What's
who the
up?
athletic director at Youngstown State is?
I don't think I do.
It's a man by the name of Jim Tressel.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Wildly useless information here, but I always like to brag about my Ohio State boys when I can.
Okay.
Bring them
Oh
in.
my gosh.
Okay.
Do you know a player that is in the NBA right now that played for Purdue Fort Wayne? JT?
Off the top of my head, I want to say no.
I could tell you.
Yeah, go for it.
Plays for the Grizzlies. That's one hint.
Oh, what? Desmond Bain? I don't know. I don't know where he went to college either.
Desmond Bain went to TCU.
Oh,
John
nice.
Conchar.
Okay. I would have never gotten that.
Yeah. John Conchar. He was all right in fantasy from the beginning of the year.
That's sick.
But he went to
All I know is
IPFW.
you might know about that kid, but my fantasy team is still better than yours.
Nah. You what?
So,
One
sorry.
game? One game?
The one game is all that matters.
Nah. I'll be fine. Get ready.
All right. Team number 3.
Southern Indiana, the Screaming Eagles. They just have a great mascot. That's honestly why I picked them. But
Oh yeah,
when I was reading,
you heard it here first, folks.
I read like this college basketball preview in the beginning of the year, and it was just naming like each team in the conference that will surprise some people. And Southern Indiana was on there. They were D2 last year, moved up to D1. This is like their kind of initiation year, I think. So I don't think they could go to like the NCAA tournament. But I don't know. I was watching how they've won a lot. I think the last 4 games or something.
They're 5-1 in their last 6 games, and their last game they just lost, but they were on a 5-game win streak.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So yeah, the 5-game win streak, and Jelani Simmons, he's a D1 player, and I think they got a power forward who played at Nebraska, white guy, tall, 6'9". I can't think of his name right now.
Jacob Paulinovich?
No, like Swoops or something like that.
Oh, Swope, Isaiah Swope.
No, not Swopes. White guy.
Like he just said white guy and
Trevor Lake.
Yeah, sorry, that's it. Trevor Lake. Yeah, Trevor Lake kind of looks like a better version of JT.
Yeah, if I was a redneck hillbilly.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. I just like them. The battle in their conference. I'm not sure if I don't think they can win their conference, but that's just like there's so many different teams now in college basketball that are like moving up and becoming D1, and it's just interesting just to see how much basketball talent is around now. To the point where we can have all these schools, and they're just a team that I think is fun to really take the spread on and just kind of follow. But they have Tennessee State tomorrow, and then they play Morehead State after that. I could see them being Tennessee State, but that Morehead State, it's at home, but that'll still be kind of tough. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, when we're talking about the Ohio Valley Conference, I want to take a moment to point out Arkansas Little Rock and one of my former players, because I coached for a little bit, who's playing over there. I want to shout him out. So I want to shout out Shota. He's hasn't played too much, but he's grinding.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Team number 4.
Number 4. All right, this is a pretty good team. Just kind of reminds me of Marshall. It's UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara. The Gauchos. They're 17-3, top of the conference, Big West. They got 2 dynamic players, AJ Mitchell and Miles Norris. Miles Norris is like a 5th or 6th year senior. He's been around for a while. And I just think that they could win their conference, but also the Big West has been competitive this year. So just depending on where everything lies, I mean, the Big West could have 2 teams in. You never know. So
yeah, the only thing that annoys me about the Big West is how many University of Californias are in that damn conference. You got UC Santa Barbara, Riverside, Irvine, Davis.
Yeah.
And then you got 4 teams that are Cal State, Bakersfield, Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Northridge. It's a trash conference for names. There's no distinction other than your city. It's awful.
They got some fun mascots though.
Oh, I'm sure.
They got
Yeah.
Hawaii. They got Hawaii in there.
Oh yeah, sorry, they got Hawaii, and then the only other team that is not Cal or Cal State is Long Beach State.
Oh yeah.
That's in California.
Which is basically just LA.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What an awful conference.
Yeah, they play. I think they'll probably end up winning that conference.
I think they will too. I don't think Riverside's the only other team I could see maybe winning it, and I just don't think. I think Santa Barbara is a better team.
Mm-hmm. Miles Norris for Santa Barbara. I can see him getting a G League look, or I could see him going to overseas and being a good player. AJ Mitchell, they got more. He's a guard. I could see him being in a G League type of prospect. That's why I like Santa Barbara. They're 17-3 for a reason. Doesn't in college basketball when you only have 3 losses, it's a damn good year. So
Yeah, and looking at their schedule, I don't really see.
yeah, they're not.
I mean, too many really tough games left on the schedule.
Exactly.
They kind of have already been through the stuff. I mean, they got UC Riverside on the road, and coming up here in a couple weeks. So I mean, that's probably a game to look out for. But other than that, I don't think they're really going to be challenged too much going out of the year. They'll probably end the year with maybe 5 losses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that will be. They're just a team that I like to watch, and got some good players on their team.
All right. Well, let's jump to some NBA action.
Yeah, let's get to that.
I mean, there was some big controversy where Pat Beverly, over the past week, took a camera from one of the off-field, camera people, took it over to the ref, and was showing him his missed call. I mean, that's wild. And he didn't even get thrown out of the game for it. Just got 1 tech.
Yeah. I mean, that's Pat Bev, man.
Yeah.
It's almost gotten to the point with the refs. It's like almost just like a show. Like it's always all we do during the basketball game or even a football game is just complain about the refs. It's gotten to that point in some games that we watch, especially towards the end.
I think the issue is with the where replay is at in both sports. It's very hard to, you look at that game, like even if the Lakers had still had a challenge, they could not have challenged that play because it wasn't even called.
Mm-hmm.
So with where some of these replays are at, like if you miss, like in baseball, you can call in that replay on a pitch and they'll show the whole, digital batter's box and go, oh, it was a strike or it wasn't a strike.
Mm-hmm.
Where, in basketball or football, there's not, too much you can challenge, or if you do challenge earlier in a game, the Lakers challenged earlier in the game, it helped them out, made that game close at the end for LeBron to try to win it. But then, he gets fouled. But the reality is at the end of the game, and I think every basketball player knows this, when that final shot goes up and when you take that game-winning shot, you're not getting a foul call.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely not.
Unless you get absolutely hacked, you're not getting a foul call. It's just,
not.
a little bit of, hand smacking on the wrist. You're not getting a call. And my problem with the Lakers there was after they didn't get that call and they go into overtime, the Lakers looked like they didn't care.
Yep.
They stopped playing. They got beat pretty bad once they got to overtime. And I have a problem with that because as an athlete in that sport, your job is to compete no matter what the outside circumstances are. And the Lakers we didn't get that call. We're not playing. I mean, the Lakers were down 4 with 40 seconds left to go in the game, and they dribbled down the floor and used basically all, their entire shot clock before putting up a shot. I think there was 30 seconds left, and they didn't get a shot off until there was 10 seconds left.
Oh, and then it took like 8 seconds to foul after that.
Yeah, it was just they were playing like they didn't care, and that's where my issue comes in because it doesn't matter if they missed a call. Refs are going to miss calls, but all the Lakers did at the end of that game was after they lost, complain about how the refs lost in that game.
Okay.
No, you lost yourself that game because you stopped playing in overtime because you were upset you didn't get a call.
Yeah, so I admit the Lakers had a lot to fault on that. But what do you think about hearing that Eric Lewis, who was the officiating ref on this, since he's ref the Celtics since 2020, whenever he's the head of ref and his crew's out there, the Celtics are 36-2.
Whoa, that's a crazy stat.
I mean, there's a lot of those. You see a lot of those though, because there's I'm blanking on the ref's name, but there's that ref that when he refs and Chris Paul is playing, Chris Paul does not win. There are those because the reality is everyone says the refs aren't biased and they don't feel a certain way, but there are certain refs that do not like certain players and they ref against them. That everyone knows it's happening, but
Yeah.
how do you stop it? Because the refs don't like players complaining to them, and they don't want anyone saying anything to them. Refs are basically their control freaks. They
Which
they act like when they're on the court that they do no wrong, and so when players where Chris Paul says stuff to them, it pisses them off, and then they hold it against you. It happens.
Which I mean, I understand because like I officiate soccer games and like it can get very dicey out there, especially when a team doesn't get a call their way and they don't want it. But like what I'm saying though about the whole Eric Lewis situation is like it like publicly comes out that like him and his whole family are huge Celtics fans, like diehard Celtics fans, and like there has to be some bias out there. He's gonna make a couple of like like you said like those late game calls where like the Lakers don't get that call. And now is it influenced because the fact that he wants to see his team win?
It's possible, but there's no repercussions for the ref. If
No,
the ref misses a call, there's no repercussion for him.
Yeah, he's not going to get fined or he's not going to get reprimanded.
There's no fine.
Any questions in a press conference, anything like that.
Right. They just go, oh, the official NBA referee Twitter account tweets and goes, oh, we missed the call last night. That's on us. We strive to be better. Yeah. Sorry. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change the result of the game. The refs don't get in trouble. So the only thing it impacts is, they do evaluate all the refs and they pick out the best out of the refs to ref the playoffs. So it does impact that if they, over that. But if he's 95% right throughout a game and then he just misses the important call, that doesn't really impact that. So there's no accountability for the refs. And I don't see there's a way that you can really get accountability out of the refs because maybe it's biased, but maybe he just didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean
the refs are looking at so many different things. Maybe he just didn't see it, and there's no way to know what his intentions were on that call, or if he did have intentions on that call.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We don't know.
There's always that possibility that he didn't see it.
So, yeah. I mean, it's tough. You can't, like, I know the Lakers were complaining, oh, the refs need to get fined for missed calls. You can't do that. They're not making that much money.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to start paying the refs more, and I think that's something you can really talk about for the NBA and the NFL. If you want to get better refs, start paying them more and then hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you miss this many calls throughout the year,
or just hold them accountable now. I mean,
yeah, but if you hold them accountable now, you just lose all your refs.
Well, then you'll have to start from scratch. Somebody's going to want to be a ref, and if not, we'll go to robots. I mean, it's gotten so bad in some of these games. The last two Syracuse games I watched were terrible reffing down the stretch.
I feel like refs are creatures of momentum in the way of when a team gets hot and a team gets going, they get all the calls. And you feel it when you're playing. When your team is hot, whether you barely get fouled or you get hacked, you're getting calls.
Yeah.
And vice versa. When the other team's hot and you barely touch somebody, you're going to get called. And it's just the Celtics were on their run. So, maybe that was part of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that one way to hold them accountable is you have some type of outside, organization that, would do like a challenge. Like you get like, maybe a challenge per half or whatever. So like, in some of those like really close ones, like you saying, like, and that would make the rest a little more accountable because they know that, it's not just them saying, nope, I still saw the same thing.
Well, the NBA does have challenges now. You can review plays, and it doesn't have to be even right after the play.
Yeah.
But the problem is you only get so many challenges throughout the game, and you can't challenge no calls.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So where, the Lakers had already used their challenge, they won their challenge earlier in the fourth quarter. But even if they had that challenge at the end of that game, there was nothing that they could have done to get them to review that because the whistle wasn't blown.
Yeah.
So that's where you kind of got to work on the replays. But I think the bigger issue too is refs fight back on the replay. Where you look at the NFL put in that you could challenge penalties and pass interference and everything. And what did you see? The replay would review it, and then whether it was or wasn't pass interference, the people up in New York that were former refs just upheld whatever was called on the field.
Basically, yeah.
And then the NFL changed it back because what was the point?
Yeah.
So the refs are going to hold each other and they're going to go, okay, this is basketball, reffing is a judgment game. What did I think happened? Because the reality is a lot of times the whistle gets blown as the play is happening. Where refs anticipate fouls. And they'll blow a whistle, sometimes as a guy's going to block the shot.
Yeah.
So as he pins a dude against the glass, the whistle's already being blown. And it was a clean block, but they've already called the foul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the refs are going to stand with each other because to them it's a judgment, and it's about what they think is going to happen or what they thought they saw, whether that's right or wrong. And they're gonna stick together. So whoever you have reviewing these replays is going to stick with the refs.
Yeah, I think that's why
JT's got a vengeance for refs.
Yeah. They did.
I think it's a tough situation right now because you're not paying the refs enough to criticize them and really like do stuff to make them better with like fines or anything like that, because they're not making enough money. You start fining a ref $50K a game that he was really bad in.
Well, they wouldn't get fined that much money, but I mean, refs make a good amount of money.
I mean, I don't know what the average NBA ref it makes, but I can't imagine it's more than 100,000. So the fine would have to be enough to
it's
want to be better, but
it's $600 per game, or roughly approximately $250,000 per year, and that's for like entry level referees, and then seasoned or professional referees earn $3,500 per game, or about $500,000.
well,
Yeah.
we all know what the way taxes work, and
That's what I was thinking.
they're not making. I mean, like they're making good money, but it's not anything like what the players are making.
Well, they shouldn't make what the
And-
players are making.
No,
Nobody even knows the refs' names.
True. I'm not arguing that. I'm not saying, we need to start paying refs $5 million a year. No,
Yeah.
but it's really tough to come up with a solution that makes the refs better, because the other thing is you have a lot of the refs in the NBA and the NFL have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So you'd have to start getting rid of a lot of refs, and I don't know if I'm sure the reffing, has a union that they go with. I'm sure there's laws around that. So I think it's in a tough spot where you can't really fix the issue. And anything you do to fix the issue, you put a former ref in charge of the replay, and then he's just going to go with the refs to make it stay a judgment call instead of going to replay. So
I mean, I see your point. I see what you're trying to get at, but I don't think it's going to be like some type of. I don't think they're that much unionized. Like you even hear on the video replay when you're watching a game, like how the guy that's talking in the, when he's like, up in the seats or in the box, like he's talking like, oh yeah, they should have definitely called this. Like that was a bad call. Or like he's always making the corrections. And the guys on the ground, they're more like, they're a team. They're working out there as a team, like on the football field or on a basketball court. But I think all refs like try to make the right calls necessarily. I think some of them are like you guys talked about are biased, but I think if they just either find them or really just had their jobs on the line, and really it's just because this shouldn't be all about foul calls. It shouldn't be about the drama of the foul calls. And I feel like that is all sports is getting to be. It's like the calls that were missed or the calls that were made. And it's just kind of getting annoying just when you're watching a really good game and that's all that's happening.
Well, I think that's also promoted by social media and
Oh, of
and
course.
so much video being on everything. Because 25 years ago, you saw the game live. You might have been mad about a call, but you didn't get to watch it over and over and over again
Mm-hmm.
on social media, where you saw the smack on LeBron, and then all you see on your timeline for the next 3 hours is
This was a foul.
the
This
the
was a
video.
foul.
This
Yeah.
how is this not called? Whatever. And
Yeah.
so it does make it worse. And then even going down to like kids basketball games where you're going down to like 6-year-olds playing, you see videos of parents screaming at the refs on the sideline about missed calls.
Yeah.
And all that's going to promote in the kid's head is, oh, when I get fouled or when I think I get fouled, I go and complain to the ref.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
that's not what you need to be doing.
no, it's the
Yeah.
same situation as, kids watching Steph Curry play, and then all they want to do is go out there and jack up 3-pointers. Well, everyone, you don't start with the 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
You work your way there. Like,
Which is why I was just saying, like, I really like the way, like how, reffing for soccer is, been, evolved over the years. Is like, I know it really, like, as a soccer ref, like, really are a control freak, but you get to the point where you're actually getting a lot more players being more respectful and coming up the rest be like, sir, like, I don't know if I really tripped them, like, what'd you see? And I feel like it's just right now there's just this culture in the NBA where a lot of players really are divas, and like it circles all the way back to Patrick Beverley. He shows he grabs a camera off the sideline from a reporter, shows it, yelling at the ref, and that's not going to do them any favors going into the OT. And you got to come out. You like tough. They missed a call. You didn't get it. There's still a whole nother quarter of basketball to play. You got to get ready. You got to get going. And then you started that quarter with Jason Tatum getting a free throw. You start yourself already in a negative position before that quarter even began. So that's just my last thing I wanted to say about the foul situation.
all right, Tootie, I know you have a couple teams you want to talk about here in the NBA. So what's team number one?
Yeah, well, what I want to talk about is just some teams that they're going to be on the trade rumor market, and just kind of what their future is, and just also talk about some players that they got. My first team, I actually heard it on another podcast that I was listening to by The Ringer, the Mismatch with Kevin O'Connor and Justin Burnham. But there we go. Sorry, Chris Vernon. They were talking about the Orlando Magic. And the Magic, to me, are a lot of fun with Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr. They've been having good years. And now Markelle Fultz is back. So I kind of just want to talk with, like, you, JT, and Dan and Bruce, like, what do you think about Paolo? What do you think about what the Magic could be? I think they could be almost like the Pacers are this year, like next year. I think they could, or even have a Kings type of trajectory where they're like the Kings are in the West right now, but next year or in 2 years. Because Paolo, he could be an all-star in the East if they were just a little bit better.
If their team was better, he would be an all-star this year.
Yeah, I mean. And Franz Wagner, that was like the steal of the draft. I mean, if you redraft that, he's definitely on top of that draft. He was an excellent pick.
So did you have any trade rumors for the Magic? I know you wanted to talk some trade rumors.
Yeah, so the trade rumors I've been just kind of looking at was, are they going to keep Jonathan Isaac? And what are they going to do at the guard position? I've heard Fred VanVleet going to the Magic. And working something out, but they would probably have to add one of the guards, and one of the guards, it's actually kind of funny, would be Jalen Suggs. I think they would be willing to give up Jalen Suggs. The Raptors might want Suggs. And then it kind of goes back to when that draft was happening, Suggs over Barnes. So, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Fred VanVleet would be I don't know exactly how that would fit in. The Magic don't really have that one guy that's a volume shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Each night it's a little different. So you add in a volume shooter into that lineup, it could help them, it could hurt them. But on the other player, Jonathan Isaac, I do think you're going to probably move on from Jonathan Isaac. I think with Wendell Carter, Banchero, Franz Wagner, there's not a ton of minutes for Jonathan Isaac there. He's kind of the odd man out of the rotation.
Yeah.
And I think there's more value trading him than there is for him playing 12 minutes off the bench.
Okay.
So I think you probably trade him and you can maybe bring in someone that can.
I wasn't thinking about him not really playing. I think it was just in terms of like his trade value. I mean, Jonathan Isaac fits this team. He could be. I think he's an excellent player. He could. Before he got hurt, he was averaging like 4 blocks a game.
Yeah, but I think the thing is like the cohesion with the team right now. They're flowing really well. With Banchero, Wagner, and the big men down low. I think they're flowing really well. I think that's what JT was trying to get is like, where does Isaac, when Isaac goes back, where does he fit back into, the minutes getting played? Like, is he gonna be okay taking a position as a role player if he doesn't get traded? Because right now that's kind of where it seems like he'll end up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Magic, the best way to play it out would be you give him his limited minutes. He just came off of he had 2 serious injuries back to back. He's been out of basketball for like 2.5 years, it feels like, or 3 years. But you keep him at limited minutes off the bench. You can put him at the 3, 4, or 5, and just let him play. Get him back in shape and show teams what he can still do and what he's capable of doing. Because I think Jonathan Isaac is like 24 or 25 years old.
Yeah, he's super young.
He's still super young. So
I think my issue with the Magic and why I think he'll get traded is I don't see him, with him being out for 2 years, I don't see him just jumping back into the starting lineup anytime soon.
Me either.
And as a role bench player, I think he's making too much money for that role.
Yeah, and he could go to another team. If another team, I got to think about. You give me a second, I can think about some teams for him. But if he could get to a spot where they don't mind his contract and they buy in on the type of player he could be if he's healthy, then if you can have him healthy, I mean,
I'll give you
he's an all-defensive. He's a first-team all-defensive player. He's the best defender in the league if he's healthy.
I would love to see him come play the 3 in Cleveland.
Yeah, I bet you would.
That'd be a crazy team. That'd be a crazy team.
I'm being serious, though. He would be the best defender in the league if he was fully healthy. He can guard 1 through 5 and at the elite level. I mean, he's like a Rudy Gobert shot blocker, and then he's
but he's way more athletic and agile.
No, and then like, who do you want to say as a wing defender? Dylan Brooks. He's way better than Dylan Brooks, and he can move his feet better. He's longer, faster.
I think that's the big thing with Jonathan Isaac. Like you said, he can guard the 1 through 5, and he's 6'11".
Yeah, and he's gotten a lot stronger since he's been in the league. So
absolutely,
he's not just that skinny kid anymore. But I don't know. I just think that they could have a team. I mentioned Fred VanVleet. I could see them having VanVleet at the 1, and then surrounding him with these combo forwards, point forwards type of guys.
There's a huge lineup around him.
VanVleet. I think something I was going to ask is like, I think Franz Wagner could play the 2.
I think to me, I'd rather play Isaac at the 2 and Wagner at the 3, just because I think now you can always move around the matchups defensively, but I feel like athleticism wise, he'd fit that position better than Wagner.
Yeah, but I just with Wagner, he's capable of running the dribble handoffs, doing pick and rolls. He's more of an offensively talented player, and but just that's why I would slide him at the 2, put Banchero at the 3, Jonathan Isaac at the 4, or you could move in because Isaac is coming off this injury. Maybe you could put Wendell Carter at the 4 and then move, Franz Wagner's brother, Mo Wagner, at center, because that's just been a really good lineup for them. Those 4 guys in the game at the same time.
What about Mo
Move in
Bamba?
a guy like Van Fleet, who's a volume shooter, a good defender on ball at his position, and a guy who's, he's a good teammate. He's not going to jack a bunch of shots and make bad decisions. So,
okay,
that might be something they need to help the development of all the other guys around them, because it seems like they enjoy playing with each other in Orlando. I just don't see them. They don't have necessarily the floor general yet. Even though Fultz has been playing well, he's been playing all right.
I think I don't know. I think Van Vliet could work. I mean, they do need better shooting. I think Suggs and Fultz struggle with that, so Van Vliet would definitely help with that. Andrew, what is team number 2 for you here in the NBA?
Yeah. So I got the Brooklyn Nets right now. I wanted to kind of talk about their trade rumors as they approach the deadline going into this All-Star break. And is Kyrie and Kevin Durant the best duo in the NBA right now?
The best duo?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, point-wise, I think you could argue it just because they both have elite scoring ability. It's a very similar 1-2 punch in the way that Kyrie and LeBron were for that stretch. But I think the issue here is the Brooklyn Nets have a problem with defense. And it's better now that they have Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is actually playing better. I mean, he's only averaging 7 points, but he's getting you 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He's a solid. Now he's making way too much money for the stats he's putting up. I'm not out here saying that Ben Simmons is a great player, but Ben Simmons can be a really good player if you play him in his role, and he's almost the same role as a Draymond Green.
Yeah, but we've been saying this for a while, and he's not that type of player. He's not vocal. He's not a leader. He doesn't have intensity. He doesn't play with passion. We've been saying that he was going to be this type of guy, but I genuinely think it's a mental issue with Ben Simmons. And quite frankly, I'm just tired of even being in a discussion of being a good player in the NBA, because he puts up awful stat lines.
I think the problem with Ben Simmons was he got so much hype coming out of Mount Verde that when he got to college, he put up good stats because he was 6'10", 240 or whatever he is. He was, a grown man playing against.
But he still had that confidence. I think he had some confidence, but I think he has a mental block in basketball.
I think that's what I'm getting to my point. I think what happened from between the NBA and college was when he got drafted, the 76ers were in that trust the process. Look how good of a player we got. He got hurt. And then when he came back, people were expecting him to come out here and drop, 20 a game and be, the next LeBron James. Ben Simmons was never going to be that guy. LeBron James might not have been a good shooter when he got into the league, but he could still shoot.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was a terrible shooter when he got to the league, and hasn't even LeBron got each season of LeBron's career, he's gotten to be a better and better shooter from, especially from the 3-point line.
Yeah,
Ben Simmons has never developed that, and then all this hate starts raining down on him. When you're a player who's only gotten praise basically your entire career about how good you are, and then that switches in an instant, and everyone's hating on you and telling you how trash you are. Yeah. I think he didn't know how to cope with that.
Well, I think it was when they had Jimmy Butler. And I think that's
and Jimmy Butler was on him too.
Yeah. And then it migrated. It just kind of went into just that playoff game when he didn't shoot and passed the thigh ball or whatever. But Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year, even though it should have been Donovan Mitchell.
Well, it was also his second season in the NBA. I don't like that about the NBA.
Yeah, I don't like
player gets hurt and misses most of the year. He can win Rookie of the Year his second year. No, you're no.
Yeah. So I feel that Ben Simmons had all this hype, and he just didn't have the mental capacity to get through the mistakes that he made. Maybe he got bullied a little bit in the locker room. I'm not sure what really happened
Well,
with him.
I think
but
his camp didn't help him either because I feel like his camp was just a bunch of hype men, and instead of trying to help him and overcome this, they were just telling him, "Oh no, you're fine. It's not your fault. Like,
yeah,
it's everyone else's fault." When the reality
because I
was
mean, he
Ben
has
Simmons.
no trade value in my opinion.
No,
I don't see
no,
him being a good player at all anymore. I just
no.
don't. And
I
he's
can't believe the
young.
Sixers got not Russ, Harden for him. Like that was
Yeah,
crazy to me.
it was
I
for
think
sure.
that's I think that's because like it kind of felt like to me like the consensus was Harden was falling off, but then it was really a change of scenery is what Harden needed because like obviously he's playing very well this
I,
year.
I think for Harden it was more Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are ball dominant players, and teams don't work when your three stars are ball dominant players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those matches, like the Heat worked with their three players because Chris Bosh was not a ball dominant player. He didn't need to have the ball in his hands, 35, 40% of the game to be effective.
hmm
He was a great defender, great rebounder, and he knocked down shots when, his teammates got double teamed. He was very good in his role. Same thing with Kevin Love. Kevin Love was really good in his role with Kyrie and LeBron.
yeah,
Same with Clay.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing. If you're going to have that many stars and scorers, they can't all be ball dominant players. It just does not work. One of them is going to be the odd man out, and he's going to look like he's trash.
hmm
And in this case, it was Harden. Harden was the odd man out.
yeah. Because Harden's not better than Kyrie or KD, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
And I think that's something that he probably couldn't have. He didn't want to be in a situation where he was the third best player. He wants to be a top two. So
I
at
don't
least,
know.
in his head, he wants to be one. But obviously, at this point in his career, I think he knows Joel Embiid's better than him.
I think he's accepted the fact he's the number two in Philly, but it's working though because when you have put two ball dominant players, there's enough ball to go around.
How about Philly losing to the Magic recently? Magic's been stopping all the top teams' runs.
I mean, I'll still say, and I will continue to say this: the regular season in the NBA does not matter in the grand scheme of things. If you're a good team and you're one of those top teams, just by playing without any significant injuries, your team's going to be good enough. You're going to be the third or fourth seed. You're not really going to have to try, and then you can turn it on in the playoffs. I mean, that's what LeBron did for half his career.
Yeah,
You coast through the regular season, you make the playoff as the the 3 or 4 seed, and then you just run your way through that side. The seeding doesn't matter too much. I mean, you like having home game for game 7, but if you're the better team and you have the better players, you win the series before it goes to game 7.
I agree. I think something that can be looked at with the regular season though is player development, like the chemistry and continuity of the team, and just you gotta figure out what kind of squad you're gonna have by the end of the season.
Well,
so I don't always like teams coasting because it kind of just puts in your head like, well, yeah, we're good enough to, we can just turn on a switch when it comes. I kind of like want the team to be competitive night in and night out. That's why it's kind of cool the Warriors went on that big run where they, 73-9. They wanted to win every game.
well, that team was also, shooting the lights out of the gym. I mean,
no, exactly. But it's just,
I think that's where the Warriors do it the
I
best.
kind of like. I would just disagree where you were saying like regular season doesn't matter as much. I know it doesn't matter in terms of like you're not winning anything.
Let me rephrase this. The regular season before the All-Star break does not matter. As long as you're at least 500, that's when teams turn it on and they actually start playing like, everyone starts playing.
Well, it matters a little bit because that's how they base the All-Star game, right?
I mean, it's a popularity contest. It's all votes.
To an extent, yeah.
So, I mean, in the end, like, as long as you're Luka Doncic playing for Dallas, who has a huge fan base,
yeah,
then as long as your team's is above 500 and you're putting up, pretty good stats night in, night out, you're going to be in the All-Star game. Like, it doesn't matter if your team's, is 500 or you're 35-3 going into the All-Star. I know there's more games played than that, but if you're, if you have 3 losses going to the All-Star break or you have 22, it doesn't matter if you're putting up the same stats. You're still going to be in the All-Star game.
To an extent, yeah. I'm just mad that Zion was a starter over Lauri Markkanen. How the heck did that happen?
Because again, it's votes. It's all votes, and Zion has been hyped up for past 5 years.
They're
so
playing
people are
like
going to vote
just
for
as
him.
good as each other this year, and Markkanen's been playing in like almost 20 more games than Zion, and it's in Salt Lake City. Why not have him start?
But it's because most NBA fans do not watch a majority of the games.
Yeah,
a lot of them aren't even on TV, so you
Yep.
don't really
they're
know.
not on TV this year. The NBA projected the Jazz to be one of the bottom teams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So unless you're playing fantasy basketball or you're a fan of the Jazz, you don't see Lauri Markkanen playing.
Yeah.
And so, they just go, okay, who do, I'm going to vote for the All-Star game. Okay, who do I know on here? Oh, I really like Zion and LeBron and Giannis. Like the top players, like LeBron gets 20 million, or a couple million votes every time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether he's having a really good year or kind of a down year for LeBron standards.
No, yeah, you're right. Which going into the voting and All-Star game talk kind of goes into the next team that I wanted to mention is OKC and SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What do you think about him?
I mean, he's a really good player. I do like him. I would like to see him become a better three-point shooter. I think that would take his game to the next level. But I think he's kind of in the same situation Dame was a couple years ago, where he's a really good player. He's putting up good stats, but his team as a whole is not great. And they're going to take some of those
24-6 or 24-26. It's not too bad for OKC.
But that's what I'm saying. He's kind of in the same situation as Damian Lillard. That's kind of what the Trailblazers were doing for a couple of years there, is he was on the rise. Yeah. And he's not going to get respect until either they make the playoffs and he goes crazy, or he just has an absolutely nuts year, and then he'll start getting some respect. But I mean, Dame was the same way. Dame got snubbed a couple years, and then finally, upper echeloned into the votes. Yeah,
I think SGA should be an All-Star this year. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I just like how he plays. But what I really wanted to also talk about with OKC, I know they have a lot of picks, of course. Them and the Jazz have the most first-round picks in the league by a large margin. And with that, it's like, are they going to make any trades at the deadline? I know they don't have a ton of guys on, with bigger salaries, but are they going to make any type of moves? Are they going to try to chase for the playoffs this year? Or are they just going to keep on doing what they're doing, where they just kind of coast?
I think you kind of coast. You use that, you get that mid-level first-round pick to try to get another player. And when Chet Holmgren comes back, you hope that takes your team. You're able to get a good pick with that kind of mid-level first-round pick that they could pull off, and then Chet comes back and it takes your team to that next level. Yeah. As like Giddey and Shai.
Do you think Chet has that ability?
I don't think he has the ability to be. I don't see him ever being like discussed as like a top 2 or 3 guard in the league. But I think he's going to be one of those
center.
You said what?
Chet Holmgren, center.
My problem with him is he's too small. He needs to get bigger. I think he's
not going to play guard.
What?
You said guard.
Oh no. I think I said I was talking about Shai. Sorry. When I said guard.
Yeah, I know we're talking about Chet too. I agree.
Oh, my fault.
You're like
transition there. Okay, if I didn't. Okay, all right. But yeah, I was talking about Shai. I don't think he's ever going to be like a top 3 guard in the league. I think he can be a really good guard. But I don't think
so. I think SGA, man, he's a hooper.
I'm not saying that. I think he can ascend into superstar status. I just don't think he's gonna break into that. Oh, he's the best point guard in the league. He's, we talk about him being a top 5 player.
How many point guards are better than him right now?
Steph, Kyrie, Oh God, now I just went blank. I
Oh,
would take what?
You
come
put
on.
Luca at point guard
Yeah, I would consider Luka a point. I'd take him over
Okay.
that.
because SGA is playing better than Harden.
I don't consider Harden a point guard.
He's
Okay,
more of a
I don't
2.
either, but I'm just saying.
Oh.
SGA is
Um,
I think he's having a better year than Harden, and I think he's having just as good as a year as De'Aaron Fox.
I mean, he's averaging 35 and 5 this year so far, but
I mean, I like what's his name?
SGA, man, I'm telling you.
Guard John Morant.
I mean, John Morant for sure.
Yeah.
That's not even a question. I won't even take a debate on that one.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but then you got like guys like you have Dame, he's better than him too. But SGA is better than Chris Paul. He's better than.
I would take Shea over Chris Paul, not over Dame.
Maybe not Drew Holiday, but think about
I would take him over Drew Holiday.
Trae Young.
I would take Trae Young over him right now, over Shea.
no.
Uh,
You would take Trae Young over SGA when
Right now.
SGA is 6'6"
yeah.
and
Yeah.
can guard multiple positions, facilitate, score at different levels, good teammate, like not a liability on defense. I mean, that's just I don't know. I don't think Trae Young's that.
I think Trae Young has proved himself more than this. This is Shai's breakout year,
Well,
and I need to
because
see him continue it.
he went into Madison Square Garden and beat a trash Knicks team, and Julius Randle choked. Trae Young, to me, he's not a fraud, but he's not the next Steph Curry. He's not
the next Steph Curry. I'm not gonna. I
SGA
don't
is
think that's
far better than him.
Trae Young gets way more points in the mid range than he does shooting threes. He's not like if you look at his stats as a 3-point shooter, like everyone talks about him being a 3-point shooter. He's not really a 3-point shooter, or not like an elite 3-point shooter.
I'm pretty sure he leads the league in the top of the key from made shots at the top of the key.
Yeah, it's all mid range. He's really good in that mid range to
Well, top
floater
of the key,
game.
meaning like 3-point range.
I mean, unless his stats have changed, Trae Young has not been a great 3-point shooter in his career.
Well, he shoots at a high volume. I just think that with OKC right now at 24 and 26, what are their 10 guys? Do they really want to keep? Is Chet somebody that they like?
I think
the guys
if you
like
drafted him that high, you're going to keep him.
Of course, they'll keep him for a year or two. They'll see what happens with him. The injury was kind of that's unfortunate. But when Chet had to play Jalen Duren when Gonzaga had to play against Memphis in the tournament, he was getting bullied around.
Well, that's what I said. My problem with Chet was he's too small.
It's too small.
He needs to get bigger.
But they don't. OKC doesn't have a true center. Now they have Jalen Williams from Arkansas. He's the other Jalen Williams. I kind of like him, 6'9", 6'10". He's been playing well in the G League. He's kind of got a crafty type of game to him. But who is going to be that center who's going to be that center that they have? But you got SGA at point, you got Giddey at the 2. I like Poku and I like Darius Bazley. Kendrick Williams, Lou Dort, and the kind of guys on the fringe that are guys that would probably either not start. They would probably start for other teams, but they could be backups. Is like Trey Mann, Aaron Wiggins, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Isaiah Joe. He's been a great shooter this year.
I think that's what OKC needs to do with their pick. I think they need to bring in a big man. Because I think Chet is going to be better at the 4 than he will be at the 5 for the first couple of years until he gets bigger. He needs to make a transition the same way Giannis did.
I agree,
Giannis was super skinny, kind of got bullied, and now he's huge and he bullies people. Like, I don't think Chet needs to get that big because it's not really like his game's way different than Giannis's, but he needs to get to at least 220. He's listed at like 195 right now. I don't want my 7-footer to be 195. Unless you have the agility and playmaking skills of Kevin Durant, and then I really don't give a shit. But for a player like Chet, who is, a back to the basket player, a stretch big, you need to put on some weight because, even when he goes up against Zion is going to back him down and bully him in the paint. and there's
God.
nothing Chet's going to be able to do about it.
No, it's gonna be rough on him.
So
But,
they need to go find a center. They need to go find a center.
I agree with that. And another thing, what they need is they need more veterans. I think it's time to let some of these guys that they have that are quality talent. I think Darius Baisley, Kendrick Williams, Lou Dort, those are guys that come to my mind right off the bat. Even Muscala, even though he is a veteran, they need to get rid of these guys or keep Muscala. But the other three guys like Dort, Baisley, and Williams, you send them off to other places. Try to get some veterans back, some guys to kind of help Giddey, SGA, and I guess they want to keep Chet, help them develop more, because right now at OKC they just have so many young guys.
They're too young. They're way too young.
There's nobody that's teaching them how to be a pro.
I think that's what happened to the Pelicans as well. If you look at how they transitioned a couple years ago, and they really didn't turn on the Jets and start to really pick it up until, I mean, even with Brandon Ingram, until CJ McCollum came in.
Yeah.
As that veteran leader who kind of was like, all right, this, I'm going back to the playoffs again. This is how you do it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, if you got, I like SGA and Giddey together. And to me, you put Poku at the 4 or at the center, and you put Chet at the 4 or the center. And then it's just that 3 spot that you really got to look at. And that's something where I'm like, let's draft somebody at that 3 spot that's elite. And I know they got the guy Ousmane Dang, in this previous draft, who can slide down to the 3. He's just very young and raw out of France. But it just seems like they need more veterans. And if they get more veterans at this trade deadline by moving some people around, I think they could end up getting that play-in situation towards the end of the year, kind of right around where the Jazz and those type of teams would be. And that would just be more beneficial for SGA's career, because for most of his career, he's been playing for, crap game. I mean, he's been playing for a crap team. So
they've been playing for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. It's just embarrassing an organization philosophy, in my opinion, to just tank a lot. But
okay, let's talk about another team that's tanking. The Utah Jazz.
They're not tanking.
This team traded away all their best players, and now instead of being first team first in the West, they're down as a play-in team. Your team really sold out to go down.
Yeah, well, I think Danny Ainge, this is going to go down as one of the best GM jobs, like in NBA history, because we fleeced Minnesota and getting Walker Kessler.
All Danny Ainge knows how to do is fleece teams and then losing the playoffs.
I mean, Celtics went to the what?
Eastern Conference Finals
Not with him there. Jason Tatum as a rookie.
Not with him there.
Yeah, he drafted Jason Tatum.
Yeah, he drafted Jason Tatum, but he wasn't there when that team finally ascended.
He was there when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and then they lost.
Okay. I would take going to the Eastern Conference Finals. When have we been, or Western Conference Finals? When have we been to the Western Conference Finals recently? It's about progression, man. But I think we got a really good squad coming, and all the picks that we have, I think we have more first-round picks than OKC.
Probably.
And Walker Kessler is probably going to end up being better than Gobert. He looks more athletic. He's got a better offensive game.
That's good because Gobert's trash.
Okay, that's fine. He's not on my team anymore. They said that Lauri Markkanen and Kessler and Ochai Agbaji are the only people that are untouchable at this trade deadline and during the offseason. So Danny Ainge wants to build a championship team in Utah. I don't know if you know about Danny Ainge, but he went to BYU.
Yeah, it took Danny Ainge about 6 years to build up the Celtics too. So
that's fine. He's got a better situation going in Utah. He didn't have all those picks like when he did for the Celtics, and he got really lucky in getting that pick with Tatum.
Yeah, but he fleeced the Nets to get that pick.
Yeah.
So he's been fleecing people since he got into the league.
I know, and he's a really good GM. And now we have a solid GM. We have one of the best young coaches in the league, And I don't know. I just think the sky's the limit right now for the Jazz.
Okay.
I don't think we're tanking at all. I think we're going to play for the play-in. And if not the play-in, I think we're going to play for a run at the end of the season.
Dude, you take the things I say too seriously. I don't think the Jazz are tanking. I just don't think they're as good as they were last year.
No, they're not. They're better than the Cavs. But
Although I think they would have been better if they had kept Donovan Mitchell and got rid of Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert is the most overplayed player in the NBA.
I like Rudy.
Of
I
course
think
you do.
Rudy deserves about 15 to 20 million a year, not like 30 whatever he was making. That's
I like him. If
That's
you have the right
insane for
system around him, he's a really good player.
until the playoffs.
I think even in the playoffs, if you have a good system around him, he's a really good player.
The Jazz
It's just
built
the
a
way
system around
basketball
him.
is moving, people don't want to play that style. So it's just different now.
Can't play
Sure.
that style because teams just play. Once you get to the playoffs, teams just rotate players. Screen, switch until they get the matchup they want. Every team just switches until you get Gobert on a guard, and then you bully him.
Not necessarily. Remember those highlights of Gobert on Luka, and Gobert was locking up Luka on the perimeter in the playoffs?
Yeah, then I saw highlights of Gobert being guarded by Luka in the paint and then not scoring. So,
But see, that's the thing. When you know that he's not that good on offense, you have to throw the lobs. He's a good lob threat. He always rolls to the rim, so he kind of has that gravity to be like, all right, there's a 7'1" guy going to the rim, like I have to guard him. So it gives the guy in the pick and roll to have an opportunity to dish it or have a shot, or be in that isolation situation, because somebody's going to have to either help on Gobert or double team you. So you're going to have some opportunities with Gobert. He just hasn't played on a team, that has that like pass first Ricky Rubio type of guy. Like when he was with Ricky Rubio, that was one of Gobert's best years.
I like Gobert on a team where he is a role player and he's getting paid as a role player. Gobert making $30+ million a year is a recipe.
The money doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter.
The money does matter because it's about the players you can have along with him. Rudy Gobert needs to go to a good team, go join a Milwaukee or something and take a $10 to $15 million a year contract, and he'll be great with the players around him. The problem is he's never going to be in a great situation because he's making way too much money for the value he brings to the table.
Potentially. Minnesota, if they make significant changes, especially at the point guard spot, they could Gobert's value. I mean, Gobert's been playing well. Like Gobert's value could make a whole 180 in terms of like the media and all that, how they everybody bashes Gobert. He's like he's like the punching bag of the NBA for some reason, even though he's a really nice guy and just kind of does his job. And he's been an underdog like his whole career.
Well, he gave the league COVID.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I'm kidding.
So like,
I don't know.
With that, it's just like I just think if they had somebody that was a pass first point guard, they don't have that in Minnesota right now. We didn't have that at Utah. Conley is a good passer and he can get assists, but he has always been a scoring type of point guard, Mike Conley. And Donovan Mitchell is definitely not a big assist guy. Like, who's looking for those people? So it's just once he gets in a situation where if he was with Jalen Brunson, if he was with a Ricky Rubio type point guard, even like a guy like De'Aaron Fox, a facilitator, James Harden, Chris Paul, if he was at the Warriors with Steph Curry, somebody that's going to be looking for the pass. And
I think that's why I said Milwaukee. I actually think Gobert would be really good with Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Playing with Giannis because of how much pressure Giannis draws in. But again, Gobert's never going to be in a situation where he can play for the Warriors or Milwaukee or a team that can like use his talents and get away with his flaws.
Yeah.
Because of that huge contract he has.
The contract is huge, but I think I think there's still some teams that can make something happen with him, especially when you look at the Toronto Raptors, the Chicago Bulls, and even the team that, we were talking, like I had on my list earlier, the Orlando Magic, Jonathan Isaac's making $17.5 million. Markelle Fultz is making 14. You got some like Terrence Ross is making 10. You got enough to send over a package for somebody if you really wanted him to, and you thought that was going to be,
I don't know.
something that you want to do. That's what Minnesota did with Gobert. I think the problem with Minnesota is not Gobert. I think it's Towns and D'Angelo Russell.
I don't know, because like if you look at the stats, so I pulled up Gobert's stats because I wanted to see. In Utah last year, he played and started in 66 games in the regular season, and he averaged 15.6 points and 14.7 rebounds. This year, his shot attempts are about the same. His field goal percentage is down from 71 to 67. His free throw percentage is down from 69 to 66. His rebounds are down from 14.7 to 11.8. And his points are down from 15.5 to 13. And his minutes are almost exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with any of that. You're talking about 2 points.
I'm talking about 2 points,
you're
3
talking about
rebounds.
2 points, 2, 3. Like that's not a lot, especially when you have a team.
And he's only averaging 1 block a game instead of 2. Like that's where some stats start getting big. Every stat category is down.
Minnesota's supposed to be a better team than the Jazz, and they're a better defensive team than the Jazz.
But half their
who
team's
did Rudy
hurt.
have in the lineup that was a top defender? Nobody. Royce O'Neal?
No, I think the Jazz just play good team defense as a whole, not necessarily individual defense.
That's exactly why we lost. We did not play good team defense. And Bojan Bogdanovic is not a rebounding forward. He's a scoring forward. So, and he had to play the 4 in a lot of situations, or Royce O'Neal was the 4. So Gobert's stats are going to be a little bit inflated in Utah because he was the only guy that was getting the rebounds.
I'll say I think the rebounding stats can be inflated, especially with how volume of a shooter Donovan Mitchell is, with how many misses he has.
You have not that far down from last year, and I don't think they're anything to be worried about. 67% field goal percentage, that's insane.
I mean, he's taking 7 shots a game.
And he's shooting 67%. That's not bad.
I mean, yeah, it's just I think, we've been rambling on about this, so I think, we're kind of making the same points again. I don't think we're going to agree on this because I think Gobert's a role player. You think in the right system he can be a star. So we're not really going to agree on this. But the boys have just listened to us ramble and argue about Rudy Gobert for about 25 minutes now. So all I have to say to you guys is this has been the Boyz and Ball Podcast. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe. Pow.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on